Hello, episode 4, Road to Superbowl, season number 2. It's time to talk about some goddamn birdies, those desert Arizona Cardinals that, they are starting to be one hell of a pain in the ass for my Seahawks. Not to mention that despite that, they are still probably the 4th best team in this division. It kind of tells you this division is going to be hard. So, with no further ado, let's start going to check what Arizona did in the draft and how their roster looks like right now. So, let's start with the draft. And unfortunately, they had really good draft. let's put it this way. First of all, before last season, there was a lot of talk like Arizona is going for the number one pick, Caleb Williams is going to be their QB, they will get rid of Kyler Murray, and I'm like, what? Kyler Murray is damn good QB. I mean, is he an elite guy? No. Do you wish he played less Call of Duty? Probably. But still, he's goddamn good QB. So, unless you would absolutely push him out of the lineup, kind of not allowing him to play, there is no way they will be in a position to pick Caleb Williams. That kind of happened. They were good enough to not pick number one. With Kyler back in the lineup, they were decent football team that has their weaknesses, but they are in a rebuild and they are doing it quite nicely. So where they landed in the draft was number 4 pick, and kind of unfortunately, all the 3 teams above them had a need for QB, and they passed on the best wide receiver prospect I have ever watched in like my 10 years of watching NFL and some of the college football. Marvin Harrison Jr. There was some talks that like they would pick Malik Neighbors over him, and I'm like, no, unfortunately, because I don't want, as a fan of Seahawks, I really don't want to face Marvin Harrison for next 15 years, but yeah, I'm going to have to. Marvin Harrison, absolute slam dunk. I feel like if Patriots did not get a chance to land Drake May, they should have at least forced Arizona to pay up to get to number 3 to pick Marvin Harrison, or threaten to actually draft him, because I would much more prefer for them to kind of make their weaponry, make their situation well enough for QB next year. But given the fact that they were able to land Drake May, that was not a question at all. And for the Commanders, they just needed a hope. They just needed a guy in the room, and Jaden Daniels, I think, absolutely fits that. So, because this was the draft scenario that unfolded, Arizona kind of were happily sitting number 4 and like, we will take Marvin Harrison. What's there to say? I mean, this dude is going to be a torture. Like, I've never this is my first year of giving drafts, or at least sharing them with you guys, so you don't have to believe me. But as a rookie, as a current ability, I have to put this guy as an impactful starter. I cannot go under that. Like, this is as close like to Bijan Robinson last year. I think Bijan was the one when was really thinking about impactful starter last year. And I feel like with Marvin, I just have to do it. Like, this guy is absolutely gonna be good. Barring injuries, I just cannot see him not going for like 1,200 yards with Kyler Murray. If either of them gets injured, obviously it's a different conversation, but if they don't, this dude is gonna be exceptional. Like, I won't put it past him to have to mark him as an elite guy within his first 2 years of his NFL career. That's how highly I think of him. I feel that this is an absolute stud, and having him for pretty much 5 years with a discount, given nowadays NFL wide receiver market, is an absolute jackpot for this organization. Then late in the first round, picking Darius Robinson. I feel it was a touch early to me, but given how much they need help in terms of defensive line, I absolutely get it. They needed to address that position. Could they have addressed it with some drafting up because they had a lot of ammunition, perhaps? But I do not hate this move. And then one of the key and defining moves for this team in this year's draft, because they had number 35 pick and decided to trade it with the Falcons for their 43rd and 79 pick. I'm like, wow, Falcons, that's an overpay. That's really an overpay. And again, I absolutely love that move for the Cardinals. What they have done with those picks is a bit of a conversation, because Max Melton, that's where one of the problems started with drafting down. Several cornerbacks were drafted just ahead of Max. And given that they have struggles defensively, and cornerback room is one of them, perhaps they were again pushed to just pick the best guy available, who, in my opinion, was overdrafted at that point, because there was just several cornerbacks right behind him. In my opinion, there was another option with Commanders. Go for Emmanuel Forbes, spend that 79 pick that you've got from the Falcons like extra. I feel like it might have been enough for Washington to give up on Forbes. I would not pay the 43 though. And kind of try to figure it out this way. So Max Melton, bit of an overdraft, but I understand. But then you have another really good round and a good pick, and that starts with Trey Benson. I feel like he was the best running back in this class, and he absolutely fits what they want to do. He complements very well, I think, James Conner, and they are going to be a really interesting running back duo. Given the threat of Kyler Murray full season, I'm not really looking forward to face this offense, because they really loaded up with weaponry really nicely. So really one of my favorite picks, Trey Benson. Isaiah Adams, Tip Bryman, understand process, nothing special to say about those guys. Tip Bryman, he's the one that they got as an extra, because they again traded down from 79 to 82 and got like additional 6th round pick. So he's the one that they get with Max Melton for trading down. With the Falcons, I feel like they could have done touch more with those two picks, but nothing bad to say about Tip. I think this is absolutely deserved position for him, and as well as a bit of a need to fill that tight end room for the Cardinals. And really nothing special to say about Elijah Jones or Xavier Thomas. Elijah, that's way too soon in my opinion. He's already 25. Oh, he will be like 25 when the season starts, and I just haven't seen enough to justify this pick. So finally, they kind of make a mistake. Finally, my Seahawks genes talking. But they unfortunately really covered this one up with De'Aaron Demerson. De'Aaron Taylor Demerson, if you want the whole name, because this guy is just what they needed in terms of success story for their safety room. They obviously have Buda Baker, they have Jalen Thompson. If they ever decide, we want to get younger, we want to get cheaper, this guy is, I believe, 80% of what Jalen Thompson is and like 70% of what Buda Baker is, with room to grow and to learn from these two guys. So absolutely love this pick. It almost deserved an A. Just like it feels like his natural spot in terms of value. So I'm not saying you are getting perfect value, but I think you are getting an absolutely perfect fit for the future of this organization. Nothing to say about Xavier Thomas. Christian Jones, interesting prospect. Getting him this late in the draft, I kind of really like. Though I do not expect him to, put his put his feet on the field this year. I think going forward he could be a real nice backup for them. And can he fight for starting job eventually? Maybe. And nothing really special about Tejon Palmer or Jaden Davis. So now let's talk about their offensive personnel, and we start with Drew Petting as their offensive coordinator. His grade is B-, which means I actually kind of like Drew Petting. I don't think he's a premium offensive mind. I don't think he's great, but he's really in that tier 3. I'm not worried, and definitely I see him earning more and more of my respect to overcome his grade. I don't think he's maxed out, and he has some nice groups to work with. So in terms of weaponry, we look at the weaponry overall, divide them by passing abilities and running abilities, and then O-line overall, pass blocking, run blocking. So, am I too harsh with B-? Maybe. But we will see. We will see how this holds. It's all about we are ranking this group at their floor, and they have 3 rookies in terms of weaponry who I expect to have somewhat significant. Obviously, Marvin Harrison, that's a huge one. Tip Raymond, I think, is going to be involved, and Trey Benson. So that's where this is how I rank them now. I do expect they will outperform this ranking over the course of the season. But we start with Kyler Murray, and I truly believe he is an amazing player. Is he closer to an elite status than to an impactful status? For me, no. I think he's closer to impactful starter only. But at the same time, he to me is flirting with a top 10 QB in the league. And I absolutely love how he approached last season when there was a lot of negativity talked about him. And he just stepped on the field and played very, very well. So kudos to Keller. I believe that this is going to work out for Cardinals in the long term as well. Kind of not tanking the whole season for Caleb Williams, rather sticking with Kyler and loading on different assets. And it could be scary how good Kyler can be when he finally has, again, his number 1 weapon, and he gets to have the whole offseason to prepare. So watch out for Kyler Murray. That's what I'm saying. And again, it's an interesting conversation, like where he ranks in terms of this division. Because I would put him behind Matthew Stafford, and some guys probably put Brock Purdy over him. I feel like he is the second best QB in this division. Sorry, Gino. Even though we are good, I believe you are the 4th best here. Desmond Ridder as a backup. Let's put it this way. I'm not worried if Desmond Ridder had 3 Marvin Harrisons to throw to. Like that guy last year, it was bad. It was really, really bad. So what do you see as his statistics? His passing yards, rushing yards, his touchdowns, both rushing and throwing, and interceptions. His PFF grade and his amount of snaps grade, and his position. So Desmond Ridder, not really a backup I'm worried about. Didn't really get this move to trade for him. Now let's take a look about the running back room, and we have to start with James Conner, who had an absolutely amazing year. Bit of a surprise that he's this good. I did not expect that. I had him as a good starter, but I thought he maxed out, like that's what he is. No. He absolutely showed up. And you have to put it into perspective that, when you have Kyler Murray, obviously the running lanes are going to be more open for running backs, but he didn't have Kyler for like 6 or 7 weeks, and he still has really nice numbers in those weeks as well. So 5 yards per carry, amazing. One thing he doesn't really have is not he doesn't have like hands. He has hands, but they are not his strength. He's just more of a pure runner, but he does it very very well. To put him into an amazing category, I just couldn't trust myself into doing that. If he starts the way he was pretty much the whole last season and he doesn't slow down, he might flirt with that category as well. But absolute tip of my cat to tip of my cat. Yeah, I'm just gonna probably stick with tip of my cat rather than tip of my head to James Conner for what he's done last year, and yeah, I do expect him to continue on that mission to show the world that he is a bit of undervalued in their eyes. And then they have really nice compliments to him, like Michael Carter released from the Jets. Not a good move by the Jazz. He really showed at some with the chances he got here, like 6.2 yards a carry. Obviously, he didn't have that many carries, but he was really productive. And he's your number 3 to number 4 option with Amari DeMarcado. Yeah, you absolutely love that because you just got yourself Trey Benson. Really shifty guy, really adds a lot of speed, a lot of dynamism. You know, you can see his 40-yard dash was under 4.4. Really, really good compliment to James Conner. I feel like they will have a lot of fun using him as early as the season. And this is one of the rooms that may lack top talent, but is absolutely well put together and just absolutely makes sense. You have great backups, you have complementary 2 starting running backs, and you have one that is really like middle of the pack in terms of number 1 running backs. So really nice room. Then you go to wide receiver room. We talked about Marvin Harrison. He's the number 1 and it's not even close. That's where Arizona just doesn't have right now the necessary quality to make them offensive juggernaut, because Michael Wilson, Zay Jones, Greg George and Zach Pascal, neither of them makes me worried. But that's for right now, especially in terms of Michael Wilson. He could continue to develop and be this team number 2, and with the rest of the crew being just offering whatever the offense needs at any given moment as their third wide receiver, because they are not bad, they are just not starters in my opinion. You should really be fine with that. So Michael Wilson needs to improve, needs to become at least a good starter. Marvin Harrison, if he's what he is and he can elevate himself to amazing or even elite starter within his first couple of years, yeah, this room works absolutely fine. As of right now, it's a bit under average because you have to put everything pretty much on the rookie table, and current ability of these guys is just not something special. Then we talk about tight ends, and this is very similar to what they have in terms of their running back room, because they have a guy that is really good and really middle of the pack in terms of number 1 tight ends. That's Trey McBride, and unlike with James Conner, he still has a room to grow. I'm really excited about him and Kyler Murray, from a fan of the football, yes, from the fan of the Seahawks, not really. Excited about having that chemistry prolonged towards the whole season because they looked very, very well together end of last year. Then I have Elijah Wiggins, converted wide receiver, or wide receiver converted to tight end, whatever they want to use him at. He's an interesting piece, but you don't expect him to be anything special. But with Tip Rayman, I think you got yourself guy that has potential to emerge as I'm not saying that this duo has Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers potential, because for Raiders I think that could be really soon the best tight end duo in the league. But to be like 90% of their potential, with Trey McBride being, as of right now, better than both Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers, and Tim Bradman being worse than those two guys, these two tight end rooms are definitely worth to watch from development standpoint, and could be, entering 2026, we could talk about these two tight end rooms as top 3 in the league, and I would not be surprised. I have this much faith in Tim Bradman potential, but it's potential. It's not what is there right now. So really well constructed room. Again, kind of hate to say that because they are competitors, but yeah, I like this room. Now we talk and we go about their offensive line. Paris Johnson Jr., Jonah Williams, Kelvin Beachum. I would put it towards like similarities for what you have with the Bears. So you have players that are like, in an ideal world, you have something better, but you are not super worried, and you have potential. Like here, it's more Paris Johnson potential rather than Jonah Williams. Jonah Williams is who he is. I do not expect him to move up. But what you have in Kelvin Beachum is one of the best, let's say, reserve tackle that you can have in this league. So if anyone goes down, I think Kelvin Beachum can start. You obviously would like him to start like 1 or 2 games, not several, because he is a backup. But really good insurance policy, and with Paris Johnson, you definitely hope that he can develop into at least an impactful starter, because that's where his potential should lie. Jonah Williams, kind of necessary signing. They get rid of DJ Humphries. Did they get necessarily a better player? I guess time will tell. Room that is definitely below average, or it's like a tackle position, but not something you should necessarily be worried about. And also it's kind of bulletproof against injuries, with Kelvin Beachum being really nice backup there. Then we go inside, and it's a group. It's definitely worse than the tackle room. Despite similar grades, you are getting kind of max out of these guys. Like there is no, beside Isaiah Adams, you are not really getting anyone that has really nice potential to be at least a good starter. Maybe Hjalti Holt, if he, shows up what he showed last year, there's still some really tight spot to climb up. But you don't really see the potential. You see guys that should do their job, but will be bottom 10 inside O-line, more like bottom 7 inside O-line, interior O-line, or even bottom 5 in the league. Necessarily not something you are worried every single snap, but several times a game they will get beat, and it's not going to be pretty. So when you combine it with tackle guys, you just don't have one single piece that you can say is really at least average in terms of league, and that's where my my ranking really comes up. What really kind of elevates them, in my opinion, where I could be really much lower on them, is they are like, they have like 8 guys, There's 8 guys that if they start, you should not see that much of a difference. So they are really foolproof against injuries, and given how many times injury like strike offensive linemen, there's like 3 offensive lines that are able to play together the whole season. I actually think of this as quite a nice strength that this team has. So that's where I'm like maybe way too nice to them rather than I should be. So let's go and check what they have to offer in terms of their defensive personnel. So again, you will see ranks for their defensive line, pass rush and run defense, and their secondary, safeties and cornerbacks. For defensive personnel, I think responsible is the head coach Jonathan Gannon. So here we rank him as defensive mind, not necessarily as a head coach. And I think he has right to earn be great. Great defensive head coach, great defensive mind, not exceptional. That's what Jonathan Gannon is, in my opinion. And I think he showed that last year, despite there were the worst defense by several metrics, given the talent that he had to work with, that's still good. It should be with like a wider gap that they should have been last. Let's put it this way: they are still one of the worst defensive personnel in the league, and let's continue with that, especially in terms of their D line. So I put it up before BJ Ojulari injury, which ended his season. It was really unfortunate. He was supposed to step up in his second year. He won't. He will miss this whole season, which kind of makes my ranking a bit too good. They are definitely moving down to E and E. I cannot justify anything better than that because BJ Ojulari gave you something. I'm not saying like he is some kind of special player as of right now, but he is a valuable piece for this D-line. Without him, they're missing, like best edge. Probably not, because best edge is Zayvon Collins, but second best edge, which is scary, and it's a promo. So Zayvon Collins, their best edge player, converted linebacker, really good against run defense, like with his run defense, which is not surprising given his linebacker career. Doesn't win that much in terms of pass rush, but he was not bad. Like given that it was like kind of his first season being really played there, he was actually quite good. And they gave him 2 years, 14 million types of deal, which is I think actually kind of team friendly. Because I do expect him to improve and to actually be like a guy that if you have as a number 2, you are happy with. Here he has to be number 1. On the other side, they will most likely line up Dennis Gardeck. He can rush the passer, but he cannot stop the run. That's where you would probably like for first couple of downs to put there BJ Ojulari, though he's not really great in that either. And at least like kind of surprise the offense. Who is going to be out there? Like how much of a liability this guy is going to be against run? Obviously, the teams will try to run against the side where either Dennis or BJ would be, not towards Zayvon Collins, because he is actually good at it. And Victor Dimukeje, yeah, like there's potential. You can definitely say that. He's entering, I believe, his second season as well. Let me check on that one. And then you have a rookie Darius Robinson, kind of, to some he is a tackle, to some he is an edge, like he's going to be somewhat of a hybrid there, and definitely the one that you are happy to have, especially with BJ Ojulari going down. Yeah, Victor Dimukeje, I'm sorry, he's actually entering his last year as of his rookie contract. He hasn't shown much. Like you need to step up if you want another contract. That's pretty much anything to say. And he will have chance to step up if they don't bring anyone else towards this D-line. Inside, Bilal Nichols, Ray Lopez, Justin Jones. They invested heavily in Justin Jones from the Bears. He's a player. He is a guy that's gonna be out there. He's going to play hard football. And this is a position that is really kind of hard to, walk into a really good starter at this point in the league. So I do understand this investment. They've got him 3 years, 31 millions. yeah, that's a price for a replacement level defensive tackle. Well, market went really nuts in this position, but yeah, there's really not that many really good defensive tackles. So if you have at least a decent one, you have to pay him. Belanikos, Roy Lopez, again, nothing special. There's just this is really a crew filled with number threes, guys that number threes and number fours. Like, if they are your second or third best tackles, second or third best edge pieces, and more of a third than second, then you are quite happy. But they are absolutely missing anyone that is at least close to average. This is really not a good room, and it should be a problem for the Cardinals, especially when they are facing 49ers offense, when they are facing Rams offense, and even Seahawks offense is not something you laugh about, but especially Rams offense and 49ers offense really could have their way with this personnel. Let's move towards linebackers. Slightly better here. It's not anything spectacular. You have at least good starter in Kazir White that's going to lead this room. And with Mike Wilson and Chris Barnes, you have guys next to him that should change and give you good enough play. But again, when you don't have great D-line and you are not having really good linebackers behind them, it's hard. It's hard to scheme this defense right, because you just don't have the quality in the trenches. Where you have quality, at least at some part, is secondary. Let's talk about that. And this is really nice safety room. Why I do not rank them higher than, like, I think B+, where I have them is both of them. Okay, it feels like Buda Baker is slightly overvalued by the general public, and to me he is an impactful starter, but that's it. He is not close to amazing anymore. And with Jalen Thompson, he passed the grade to be impactful starter, but not necessarily I see that amazing potential. So they don't have the elite guy, the Jesse Bates of the world, where I would be happy to give this secondary an A or A+, if one of these guys were Jesse Bates, obviously. But still, it's really stud secondary. You don't safety room. You don't have to worry about them. And with Dedrick Taylor Demerson, you just have really nice successful plan. So as much as I'm not giving this room an A or A+, this is definitely strength of this team, successful plan that is absolutely making sense. One problem is you are paying really nice chunk of money. I feel like it's about 35 million for both of these guys combined. In the years when safeties are kind of being looked at as more of a running backs of the offense, like they are not necessarily getting super paid. Most teams are more about cornerbacks than safeties. Cardinals are still sticking with the safeties, and that's where you feel like maybe that's a bit of an issue. So that's why I also like the Taylor Demerson draft, because I feel that they should rather soon than later get rid of, trade either Jalen Thompson and Buda Baker, kind of collect some compensation for these guys and get cheaper in this room. And they really have good successful plan for when this happens. Then let's go and check this cornerback room, and So with Sean Murphy-Bunting, you are getting a player. You are getting a guy that you should not be like super worried about, but you are getting a guy that should not be your number one corner. Yeah. He is a good player. I don't have many negatives to say about him. I believe that he is like closer to good starter than decent starter. So definitely a player that I have kind of nice opinion about. But still, he should not be your number one. As a number two, I would love to have him, but as a number one, that's a bit of a problem. Then second best guy right now is probably Garrett Williams. Like, what is there to say? As of right now, he should not be number two on your depth chart. He is. He has a ton of potential, just as Max Melton does. So you hope, with Sean Murphy-Bunting being kind of that stabilizing, good enough piece that kind of helps you, especially next to that safety room that can sometimes cover the mistakes of these young corners, that this will develop into solid to good cornerback room. But that's a hope, that's development, it's not the current state. So as of current state, this trio as a starters is one of the worst in the league. And I don't think there's really anything controversial about that. You add really lackluster pass rush, and we should see some really high scoring games with the Cardinals because their offense is really nice and defense really is not. So be prepared for like 60 point games with Cardinals this season, I would say. Elijah Jones, Ketrell Clark, I do not see them becoming starters in the league eventually. I'm not really stoked on Elijah Jones. Some guys are, I'm not. Yeah, I just don't see that in his future. For him to be a starter, I think if he ends up to be like your fourth piece guy that plays 300 snaps a year when someone goes down in certain packages, you are okay with that. Is it necessarily what you should aim as a potential for your 90 pick in this year's draft? I don't think so. So that's why my criticism of him still stays. Where do we go from here for Cardinals? So this was covering their whole lineup, where they stand, and what is the plan going forward. Well, one trade I still feel like they should strive for is Emmanuel Forbes. Give him a chance in this system. Give him a chance for competition with Garrett Williams, with Sean Murphy-Bunting, and spend third round pick for him and hope that he develops, because that's what this year still is in terms of defense, especially with the cornerbacks. It's about development. So why not bring another high upside player that just a year ago was drafted in the first round and played the whole year. Barring he played poorly. Yes, he played freaking poorly. But there's a reason why he was picked in the first round, and there's a reason why he, even with his poor play, he still continued to play. So I'm kind of sad for Cardinals that they didn't push the button on him. I wonder if it's going to happen during the season, especially if like Garrett Williams doesn't show improvements during the first weeks of the season. Overall, where is this team heading? They have their franchise QB, they have their franchise wide receiver. I think they are really nicely built in terms of offense. They need some development from like Michael Wilson, Tim Ryman, Marvin Harrison. They really need Marvin Harrison to develop into an elite guy. And they should be really set up to be very fun offense going forward for several years. They would not miss one great piece for this online because it's deep, but it's deep with players, like decent starters. That's it. And really, like the only guy that I see huge upside is Paris Johnson. With other guys, I will be surprised if they are ever anything but decent starter and maybe good starter. So that's what I would invest next off season, or even if there's someone like during trade deadline, they have some money to pay. And on defensive side of the ball, let Jonathan Gannon cook, let develop these young players. You have hope with Zayvon Collins that he, with another year of playing an edge, can develop into at least capable number 2 edge piece. And with the secondary, next to great group of safeties, that these young guys can develop into solid secondary overall. Great secondary with the safeties and solid in terms of cornerbacks. So where I see them with an upside, I think it's going to be really hard for them to have anything more than 9 wins. I see 9 wins within the realm of possibilities, kind of splitting 3 and 3 within the division. Unfortunately, that would probably require to beat Seahawks twice, so I definitely do not hope for that, but would I be super surprised? No. That offense is really scary. But, this division is really hard. And going 6 and 5 with the rest of the schedule is possibility. But I feel like that's their ceiling. They will have really funny games. I think they will be really fun to watch because there will be a lot of points scored in those games. But eventually they won't be able to put up 30 on everyone. And on this defense, those really good offenses should be able to have their way with. And they will face a lot of good offenses. So 9 wins, and their floor, I would say, is 5, because if that offensive line kind of struggles, you will be entering the games with really bad efficiency in terms of, we need to score 20 at least to have a chance to win, and Kyler doesn't get much protection. Perhaps Marvin has some struggles as a rookie, which can happen, and you won't win more than like 1 game in this tough division. Also something I definitely can see happening. And 4 wins with the rest of the schedule would not be a shock. So that's like with, I would say 95% of outcomes come between the range of 9 wins and 5 wins. Obviously 5% covers really bad injury luck or anything going absolutely their way, or 10%, let's say. And where are they in terms of their future? I think the future is bright for the Cardinals. Like I said, I really like how they constructed their weaponry for now and going forward. I think Kyler Murray is here to stay for at least like 5 more really good years, unless like injuries really strike him down. And then you just need to develop the rest. That's hard, especially when like with several groups you don't have that much to develop. But this like front office is really doing nice things. I think Jonathan Gannon showed some promise as both head coach and definitely defensive mind last year. Do I see a Super Bowl potential with them? No. They could be really spoils. They could spoil a lot of team season. Like, give a year or 2 to this team and they can beat anyone. Like 1 game, total shootout, they can beat anyone. But unless they will develop this defense much more than I do expect them, or I see the upside of these players, and they don't nail like next year's draft and the draft after that, that's where I feel like their ceiling is gonna be limited by this defense to win like 3 or 4 games in January. So you need to do really good job or exceptional job to fill this room with talent if you want to win a Super Bowl. But can this team be, let's say, what Pittsburgh is, but in terms of offense? Like, they are going to, spoiler weekends, they are going to beat some really good teams. They will be a playoff contender pretty much every year and get one win there. Yeah, that's where I see like Arizona in 2 years. That's the type of team, like similar to Pittsburgh, but with focus on the offense. So that was your Cardinals. Let me know down in the comments where you agree, where you disagree, and let's play more Call of Duty, I guess, because I don't want Keller to score 30 on my Seahawks both times. So Keller, I hope you are not learning the offense. I hope you are not building chemistry with Marvin, because I'm scared. I'm really scared of these two guys. Bye. See you next time.